Hello, this is Mitch Goldberg. Welcome to a live stream of Be the Boss of Your Money. This is the place where we get in depth, down, and personal. We go into detail, perspective about personal finance, investing, and business. I'd like to welcome you, and today's value add is getting back to basics, personal finance. With the stock market seeming like it's stalling and S&P basically back to flat for the year. Now is as good of a time as any to get back to basics and talk about personal finance because, the market's giving us a chance to talk about something else besides the stock market. And I don't want to leave out personal finance. It's really more important, believe it or not, than the actual stock market over the long term. Yes, I said that. So that's the value add. So we always get started with a quick introduction. We do the value add perspective for the update of the market. And then we get into today's main topic, which is personal finance basics. It's the Back to Basics episode, folks. You don't want to miss it. So here we go. Let's roll the intro, and we're going to have a really good, fast show. And we are back. Just want to thank you so much for joining me. You're watching Be the Boss of Your Money because I want you to be the boss of your money, not your money to be the boss of you. It's really easy for your money to become the boss of you or lack thereof. And it's also easy to let your spending get out of control. And somehow income never seems to get out of control, but spending does. So we want to talk to you about personal finance today. But first, we're going to go through the quick update. We'll do a quick share screen. And when I say quick, I really want to roll through this update, give you some perspective into what's going on, because this is what helps us make better decisions. The more you know about the market, the more comfortable you are, the better off you're going to be, and the more likely you're going to stick with your investment plan. I always like to say, what good is an investment plan if you can't stick with it? Okay, so you see this, Dow up 159 points, S&P barely up, NASDAQ was down almost 1%, Russell 2000 at 1.33%, and the VIX was up a touch, but under 25. I've been looking at the VIX as staying under 30 as a good thing, but now it's under 25. So I have to say the overall, not a terrible day. Now, the standout here is the NASDAQ. So the Dow is up because industrial stocks really took off. Let me show you some of the industrials that I'm showing you, that I'm following. Wabash, Korn Ferry, Cummins Engines, Textron, Oshkosh, Lockheed Martin up almost $10 a share. Even GE over 7. It's like, I never thought we'd see the day where I'd say, wow, GE over 7. Maybe you'd think you see the day when GE is over 170, but over 7. Boeing up a couple of bucks. Emerson, airlines were up. Granger, those are the guys that make stuff for the people who get things done. Okay, so let's just take a quick look here. Let's take a gander. Let's take a quick gander at some of the market movers. And this should come up, any hour now. Okay, here we go. Energy had a really good day. Oxy, Cimarex, Devon, Apache, Diamondback. Well, if you can't tell, it's, Chevron, Concho, Noble. I mean, basically today was a day for the energy stocks. Losers included some of your biotechs and some of your big technology stocks. Okay, especially the Adobes of the world, the Netflixes of the world that have been on a tear. So you kind of see what's happening here. Today was definitely a bit of a shift from the work from home, stay at home stocks to the economic reopening stocks. So don't mind me, folks. Got a little something in my eye, and it's bugging the out of me all day long. Okay, let's take a look at the FANG stocks, because this is why the NASDAQ was down today, because of the FANG M stocks. These are the 6 horsemen of the NASDAQ. These are the biggest companies in terms of market cap in the whole market. So they make up a big piece of the S&P 500. They make up big piece of the NASDAQ, obviously. And Facebook was down 1.5%, Apple down, Amazon, Netflix down over 2%, Microsoft down 1.3%, Alphabet, symbol is still Google, down 0.5%. So 5 out of the 6 were down over 1%, one down less than 1%, one down more than 2%. 2%. That's the Netflix. So you could see why the market was down, and you just could see the shift. It wasn't such a subtle shift. It was a pretty obvious shift. And we'll take a look at the sectors and just talk about what happened today. So you see XLE, I follow the 11 sectors of the U.S. economy. And I follow them by following the representative, tracking ETFs. Okay. And XLE was up 6%. That's energy. So energy had a standout day. The next biggest gainer were financials and industrials. And look, if you're a viewer of the show, and I see some people are out there. Okay. I see Filippo. Yes. Filippo says, everyone knows stocks can only go up. I think you meant to say stocks. Okay. Yes. Everyone knows stocks only go up. They don't go down until they go down. Right. So yeah, I appreciate it. You own XLE. Good for you. Okay. Always good to hear from you, Filippo, by the way. Thank you. So if you review of the show, I always say that you want to see energy, industrials, and financials lead the way. That gives you the V-shaped recovery kind of day. We could stop sharing the screen. So that gives you the V-shaped kind of day. So when that happens, financials, energy, industrials, these are really the economically sensitive sectors. And most importantly, when you see financials go up, financials basically, the financials are the central nervous system of the United States, of the economy, of the global economy. So if they're not doing well, then, nothing is. By the way, I see you out there, Maddie. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Judy, always get the heart. Okay. So, that's what's going on today. It's a not so subtle shift. Maybe it's what hopes for a vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. As far as states closing down, it's pretty disastrous with what's going on with the spread of COVID in a lot of states, in particular Texas, Georgia, okay, and California. We have to see what that means for economic statistics and for the economy. But today was definitely a day that was a bonus or belief in the economy that the economy is improving. And when that happens, it takes away the impetus to own the work from home, stay at home screen stocks. And that's why they got hit today. They didn't get tanked or anything. They just went down a little bit. But the 6 stocks make up about 30% of the S&P 500. So they're so big that when they all go down, it's really hard for the major averages to beat that. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is a little bit different because it's not quite as tech heavy. It does have Apple in it, but it's not quite as tech heavy as the S&P 500. Let's talk about personal finance. It's really important to always make sure you get back to basics, because we get so much stuff in our head, so much junk in our head. We hear about stocks and consumer discretionary stocks and gold and, overweight this and, Tesla's going up and the Federal Reserve is going to do that. And, we're going to get we should get another stimulus package and, extend the $600 a week employment benefit. I mean, all these things are in play. Oh, wait a minute. Important message. Hi, Daddy. It's Jess. I love you so much. I love you too, sweetheart. Thanks for showing up. Michael Rosenberg. Hey, Michael. Good to see you, man. I know one of these days we're going to get together. All right. Finally, we'll get out of this COVID stuff. Okay. I'm glad you're out there, though. Thank you very much, buddy. So we have so much in our head, and, we have to get back to basics. You have to get back to doing the things that actually matter. We like to get really sophisticated with the market and the different kinds of stocks, but personal finance, the things that you do, I have a lot of lights right on me. It's kind of killing my eye. My left eye is really bothering me. It's very itchy. Okay. I think I need to go to the doctor. Anyway, so we have I have a lot of lights on me. We have a lot going on. Yeah, where was I? Okay, so personal finance. It's the personal finance things that you do day in, day out That's actually the real shortcut to accumulating wealth. The personal finance, um, stonks. Okay. I just got an important text message. Thank you very much. Stocks are referred to as stonks in the millennial cohort. I had no idea, and I'm really glad I know. Thank you very much. That is cool to know. I feel like such a, I felt like such a stonker. Stinker, you get it? Stonker. Okay, I'm so off track right now. It's unbelievable. Okay, so oh, this is fun. If you have any comments, please let me know. If you're watching this in the replay, I'd like to welcome you as well. Certainly ask any questions you may have. But I can't say comments. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments below. Did I say that? If you have any, if you're watching the replay, same thing, and I will be happy to get back to you. I love the interaction over here, and we're going to get back. Peter, I see you out there as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, I remember Peter's out there. Please talk about the risk to Social Security if the payroll tax is replaced, a major source of Social Security funding. I'm going to talk about that, and I think I'm kind of worried about it. Like, to me, you don't mess with the payroll tax. I think that's like, it's such a short-sighted boost to screw around with Social Security. Like, that is such a, to me, Social Security is such a, like, a sacred thing. If you don't know this, folks, payroll tax is what pays for Social Security. And as it is, Social Security is not going to run out anytime soon. Somewhere in the mid to early 2030s, if Congress doesn't do something to add more money to Social Security, there might be a 20% cut to people's benefits. But after that, it would go on, Social Security would go on for about 70 or 80 years. But still, we need to protect it. And I'm with you, Peter. I think it's a bad idea to raid Social Security, which is basically what that is when you repeal the payroll tax. So, and the thing is, you might say, like, not you, Peter, I'm saying people might say, well, it's just one time. We're going to do it this one time. But if we do it one time, that means the Pandoras box is open. It means we'll do it another time because whatever tool the Federal Reserve or Congress uses for the economy, when a tool is first used, it's a big deal. It's out of left field. It's alternative. What's the word? It's unusual. Okay. Like many of the Fed tools that we had in the Great Recession. But the next time you have a problem, those unusual tools become the norm in the next crisis. So if we hit a payroll tax now, which is the equivalent of raiding Social Security, that means it's going to be a lot easier and a lot less. There will be a lot less resistance to hitting that up the next time we have a crisis, and there will be another crisis after this. Just that's the way the world works. So I'm with you. By the way, Peter and I had a brief discussion about when I remember I did on my live stream. I did a live stream about when George was opening up and let's go. And we basically decided, let's pray for Georgia. Let's hope it works. Yeah. And they didn't social distance the way we had all hoped, the way they did in other states. And now it's a problem with the rising cases there, Florida, Texas, and it's just a mess. So, Peter, kudos to you, man. Okay. All right. So let's get back to basics, personal finance. So we talk about the stock market a lot, and it gets kind of fancy and sophisticated. And it's because it's the news. We tend to focus on things that affect us right now, as opposed to something that will impact us 10, 20, or 30 years. It's just the way we're hardwired. So that's why if you can make good financial habits a habit and get as many things in personal finance on autopilot, it means you kind of start to forget about it. Kind of like your 401k, you invest in it every month and you don't miss the money because it comes out before you even get your paycheck, and it just becomes a part of you. So let's talk about that, because the stock market is something we can't control, but that's okay. Over time, the stock market we expect will do well. Over the near term and going forward, if we just focus on controlling a handful of things, just 5 things, that will make us much better off financially. So what we need to do is take a look at these. The first thing to control is you can contribute to some kind of retirement fund, or even if it's not a retirement fund, just a regular taxable account. What happens is when you start getting into a good habit of contributing before you receive your income, you won't miss your income because it doesn't become a part of your spending equation. Okay. Do you save first and then spend, or do you spend first and then save what's left over? I think if you go with the latter process, you're going to find quite often that you're not going to have anything left over. So that's why we save first, then spend, as opposed to spend, then save. Okay. That sounded very sophisticated. I like the way that came out. So the second thing is to create an emergency fund. Look, everyone needs an emergency fund because stuff happens. As a branch manager of mine used to say, it takes a long time for good stuff to happen, but bad stuff happens fast. And when it happens fast, like a sudden loss of a job, and you realize, well, I didn't save any money, or I don't have any money set aside. I figured I would get to it one day, but I'm spending on this project and that project and this thing and that thing. I'll get to it one day. And all of a sudden, you need it. That's why it's called an emergency fund, because you need to have 3 to 6 months of emergency money. And it just might be because you have some options. Maybe you lose your job and you don't want to take the first job that comes along because you're desperate. You want to see if you could maybe get the job you want, or a higher paying job. Okay. So an emergency fund is number 2. That's something that you could control. So far we have contribute monthly to some kind of investment or savings plan. The next thing we have is emergency fund. And then the next one is to keep your expenses low. Now, there are 2 kinds of expenses I'm referring to. One is investment expenses. Obviously for me, for my clients, I use low cost expense ratio type investments. For example, I use individual stocks a lot. They don't have any expense ratio because they're not funds. And I use a lot of ETFs, and they're pretty inexpensive at this point. It's almost like nothing. It's not nothing, but it's very low for a lot of them. And then you want to keep your personal expenses low. I talk about this, Simon. It's called lifestyle creep, where all of a sudden you've got your expensive cell phone bill, your Netflix, your Hulu, your Roku, and your nicer car, and all of these things that start to add up. And before you know it, day one of every month, you've spent a lot of money just on subscription services. So keep your expenses low, spend wisely. It pays to get back to basics once in a while and run through all your credit card statements and see what monthly expenses are coming out, and realize, what, I hardly ever use all these, or I can get used to just living with 1 or 2. Just personal finance, folks. Okay. That money goes a long way over time. Look, I realize for some of you, these expenses don't mean a hill of beans, but for some of you, they do. All right. So what's the next one? The next one is financial goals. Only you could really set your financial goals. I mean, you could work with a financial advisor like me, shameless plug, but you still have to come up with your own goals, because if you have a goal that someone gives you, or someone tells you about it and convinces you at the moment that it's a good goal, you might not really buy into it over the long term. And if you're not really passionate about a goal, you're probably not going to stick with it. I recommend, when I work with clients, to focus on 3 goals, because once you get more than 3, it starts to get a little unwieldy. You start to become diffuse, and you might make a dent in a couple of goals, but you don't really accomplish any one particular goal. So I like to just keep it simple. Focus on 3 goals, no more than 3 goals at a time, and hit those very well. Typical goals, saving for retirement, paying down debt, saving for college. Those 3 goals are good enough, though, that those take a lot of time and effort. And I realize some people watching this have already saved for college and don't have school-age children anymore, but you'll have another goal to work on, right? So the next thing is adequate health insurance. Now, I know this makes sense to a lot of people, and sometimes you have to tell people about this, but for people who don't understand this, for the younger set who don't have decent health insurance, I realize that some people just can't really afford anything more than what they have. But as long as you have something major medical or some kind of health insurance policy, because what could happen is an injury, a skiing accident or something, or just, you go play volleyball with your friends and break your ankle or whatever, anything. I mean, an injury could cost you a ton of money and wipe out your savings almost immediately. And that is like a really bad thing if you have financial goals. You want to have adequate health insurance. And that, I think, really, that's about it. That's 5 things right there. So the 5 things, okay. I pretty much have them memorized, but I like to just go through them anyway. Contribute monthly to some kind of savings and investment plan on a prepay basis, whether if it's pre-tax or not. I want that money to come out before you spend it. In other words, do you save money first and then spend what's left over, or do you spend your money first and save what's left over? It just doesn't work when you spend money and try to save later. You've got to save it first. It's, to me, the only sure bet you have. Again, an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses. You lose your job or something, you want to make sure that you could live a little bit, get your expenses paid. And look, you know how important it is. Your parents always say, saving for a rainy day. That's what that is for. It's a rainy day fund. The next thing is keep your expenses low. I'm talking personal and investment expenses. The next thing is financial goals. 3 goals. Don't go after 10 goals, because if you do that, think of like the bear. A bear who's chasing rabbits. What happens when a bear is chasing 2 rabbits? The 2 rabbits split up, and the bear doesn't know which rabbit to chase, and it kind of stops and it doesn't catch anything. Okay, that's what happens when you chase too many goals. That analogy just popped into my head. I like that one. No, don't get me wrong, I'm bullish, but it's a bear analogy, right? Okay. Financial goals. And the next thing is adequate health insurance. You must have adequate health insurance, because if an injury or something can really wipe you out financially. So that is about it. These are back to basics financial goals. If you just do these 5 things, believe it or not, they supersede 99% of the other stuff that we talk about with the stock market and the economy, because we'll always have economic cycles, which you have no control over. We'll always have stock market cycles, which you have no control over, but you can control these 5 things that we just went over. I want to thank you so much for watching. If there's anyone else out there, Filippo, Mitch, I love what you do for the community. Brother, thank you so much. And I love that you said that. That means a lot to me. You captured you captured it all, baby, with that you did that. Thank you very much. And I will be here tomorrow, hopefully with not such a red eye. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much.